Ed, as we continue our 50th anniversary series looking at the Canucks moments, the 90s, such a fun decade for the Canucks, to be honest with you. When you see those seeds that were planted by Pat Quinn right at the start of the decade and how they turned into that 94 run, and frankly what should have been a team that would compete for the whole decade until the events of the NHL themselves kind of undid things. But when you look at that team from the early to mid-90s, what do you remember?
Well, I was in Winnipeg, but we would say played the Canucks a ton.
Yeah.
And you could see them coming. And to me, the key to that thing, well, Bure aside, was that trade with St. Louis where they land three legitimate top nine forwards who could play in any role on any line.
Yeah.
It just added so much depth, so much versatility, and it was so in keeping with Pat Quinn's philosophy, too, because he liked to play a free-flowing, it was funny, stay-at-home defenseman. He was as mobile as some of the tankards in English Bay. But he embraced that kind of speed, that free flow game before a lot of other hockey men did, and that was kind of the key. So, good team, but a fun team to watch. That's really what I remember. And then when they add Bure, of course, they add the home run hitter.
You know, I know that there's a salary cap to deal with today that makes things a little more difficult, but as I look back on the 90s and I see the job, not only that Quinn did as coach, as he was in and out, changing roles within the organization, but I look at the trades that he made. You referenced the one in St. Louis. There's also what he dealt with the Peter Nedved mess that ended up getting them eventually Jeff Brown, which we just wrote about after Janney refused to come here. And then Brown had a brief holdout too. It's just astonishing. But you look at those moves, going back to getting Kirk McLean for Patrick Sundstrom, and then how he managed that group. His skill as a general manager, in my mind, is very underrated.
Yeah, very underrated. And Brian Quinn said, boy, you examine his trade record, and it's scary good. And we haven't even talked to one I'm going to be writing about in a couple of weeks. That was Marcus Naslund for, help me,
Alex Stoyanov.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. But it was also a different area. I think it was an area where it was easier to make trades. It wasn't easier to win them, but it was easier to make trades. It was just kind of in the DNA of the league at that time. If you had a problem, well, I'm going to trade my problem for your problem, and that was the way they fixed things. St. Louis was so horny for Garth Butcher, right? They wanted him so badly, and Burke tells that great story that Pat insisted on having a mid-round draft pick as part of the deal, and Ron Caron, the Blues GM, initially walks away, and Pat says, no, I know he wants Butcher. He's going to, and sure enough, he calls back the next day with the deal he makes. We really should do another segment on the whole Bure intrigue, because that is one of there's a book there, there's a movie, there's something there, because, and again, going back, it's funny, like you forget all the details.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even writing about it, but just like tangentially coming against it. And, I remember when they were hiding out in Los Angeles.
Well,
and I remember who's the agent and it's just amazing stuff.
That whole era you talk about as a GM, he had to deal with the Red Army basically refusing to let him go until they got financial compensation. And then you look at the guy who really meshed with Yuri Larionov leaving because he didn't want the Canucks to pay more money to the Russians. He was like, if you pay, I'm out of here. And left while he still had many good years left in the tank, and you wonder what would have been if Larionov and Bury could have stayed together.
Because Larionov goes to Switzerland for a year. He comes back, San Jose grabs him on the waiver wire, and to me, he was one of the best players in the league his time in San Jose. That was a really fun Sharks team to watch there. So it feels like it's 3 million years ago, but it really wasn't. It's kind of been in my lifetime covering the league, and a lot of the readers, and I'm really glad and elated and encouraged and all those things that this series has found an audience, because it's been so much fun to dig into these stories.
Yeah, it's fantastic, and I'm sure Garth Butcher will be thrilled to know that someone felt horny for him. Thank you. So please continue to watch these videos. Look, you can get these wonderful posters through the Canucks as
Kurt
well
Ridley
as
right there, right over my right shoulder.
So we'll continue those all year. Thanks to Key West Ford for sponsoring this series for us. Continue to watch us all season long. Download our podcast at the Apple Podcast Store, and you can get all this great audio stuff we're about to record on right now.